Hey folks, Jeff here with Back to Country. Today we're talking about water filtration. If you've been following along with our videos, then you know that we recently put together a makeshift rainwater collection system. Bottom line is, water is life, and without it, well, you can't really do anything, and you definitely don't have a homestead. So while we work on getting to the point where we can drill our well, we really needed to come up with a solution for water to get us through staying longer and longer on the property. Traditionally, we've been hauling our water in 7-gallon jugs. That's a lot of jugs of water just to be out there for a couple weeks. If you enjoy things like taking showers and washing your hands regularly, stuff like that, the dog's got to drink water. It all adds up, and what we were finding out was our biggest limitation to staying out on the property was actually water. You know, we can run the generator, make fuel runs, whatever. We've got a place to sleep. We've got even air conditioning. We've got sewer basically contained in the RV that we can go dump. We've got all those little things pretty much solved to keep us out there, but the one issue we had was we just couldn't solve the water problem without constantly running and refilling jugs. And you know, we're not finding a lot of sources to fill those up. So we came up with a way to collect rainwater. That worked out really well. We've got some other ideas using water out of some springs that we've got on the property. So we know we've got plenty of water. We just need a way to clean that water up so that it meets our level of our standard, I guess you'd say. So we started talking about water filtration, and we decided to build kind of a high-end filter that would meet our needs now, and we could use the same filter in the future. Once we drill our well, we'd be able to set up a whole house system that would take care of pretty much any problem that we may have in the future. So what we came up with is all of this stuff here. So starting out, we've just got a standard 1-inch ball valve, and we're going to adapt that down to a 3/4-inch garden hose adapter, and that allows us to connect water off of our current pump setup and get water into this system. The great thing is that all of this stuff is threaded, so we can take it off and change it to whatever type of connections we need for the future. So getting into our filtration, the first filter that we're going to use is a Rusco spin down filter. This is a 1000 mesh, which 1000 mesh basically is equal to 15 microns. And a lot of times when you talk water filtration, everything seems to be measured in microns. So this is a 15 micron. It's really for getting sediment out. It takes out sand and stuff like that. The good news is that it's got this ball valve on the bottom, and that allows us to back flush the system and wash the sediment out. So the water kind of spins around this thing. The sediment in theory drops to the bottom, and then you open this valve up and it kind of shoots all that sediment out to help keep the filter cleaner. You of course can take it apart and scrub the filter as well, but we're putting in an additional capability beyond that by closing this ball valve here, and then by putting another ball valve right in front of it. What we're doing is we're going to tee off of that, and then we've got a spigot, and what that does is this allows us to connect a hose up of clean water and allow us to pressurize this line so the water comes back through the outside, and it'll go down through the inside of this filter, push water outward, and then open this valve and have it come out, so you get a true back flush in the system. Normally when you back flush with this and water's coming in this way, the water is all coming down the outside of this mesh filter, and so what that would do is it would just kind of wash off the outside a little bit, but it doesn't give a true backflow capability where it provides pressure from the inside and pushes any debris back out of the filter and then down out this valve. So we're creating a true backflush capability, which we think is going to be just an improvement on this product already. The next thing we're doing is we're going to big blue filters. These are The biggest filters you would typically use on a whole house setup, I don't know, there may be something bigger, but these are the biggest ones I've seen. It's a 20-inch by 4.5-inch filter, and these come in both clear and solid. What we did is we went with 2 clears and 2 solids, and the reason we went with the clears is because we wanted to be able to see our sediment filters so that we know, how they're looking, what kind of stuff they're picking up, etc. So if we get into the filtration capability, we've got 4 different stages of filtration. So this first filter is just a sediment filter, and this is 5 microns, and that basically is going to remove dirt, sediment, coarse sand, fine sand, silt, rust, scale, particles. Just takes all the junk out of drinking water. So remember, we start out with a 15 micron filter, then we're dropping down to 5 microns. Once we get past this sediment filter, then the water is going to flow into the next filter, and that's a granular activated carbon filter. And basically it's pieces of carbon in there, mostly from like wood and coconut shell, and those remove things from the water. So for example, we're treating our water inside the tank with bleach. A lot of your water that you get from the city is got chlorine in it, same thing. This filter is what removes that. So we're putting chlorine or bleach into the water to kill any viruses, bacteria, whatever that get in the water, and then we're gonna filter it back out so we get pure, good tasting water when it comes. But at this point, this water is not ready to drink yet. We're still got more to go. So once we get done with this 5 micron granular activated carbon filter, then we're going to drop it down again, and this is another sediment filter. This one is pleated. It's reusable, you can wash it. This is basically a 1 micron sediment filter. So anything that's in there that's still in that water that's bigger than 1 micron in size, so basically between 5 and 1 micron, this is going to stop it from going further. Once it goes through this filter, then it's going to go to the next filter. Now this is what's called a CTO filter. I believe that stands for carbon, taste, and odor. It is a solid carbon block filter, and this is 1 micron rated. And so this is going to remove contaminants, anything that's remaining in there, and get anything that's 1 micron or bigger that's made it through everything else. Then from there, that still wasn't enough to satisfy us. So the next thing we're doing is we're going through this Dalton Rio 2000 filter, and this filter is a ceramic filter that is candle filter, it's called, and it's got 6 of these ceramic filters that go in it. And so by putting 6 of these things in, what this does is it is a whole house solution. So basically you got 6 different ones to increase your flow rate. So this will do like 400 gallons per hour, and it is rated at 0.9 microns. And so once water has gone through this filter, it is considered potable. Now, realistically, just because it gets through a 0.9 micron filter doesn't necessarily mean that your water is perfect at that point. If we compare that to, say, reverse osmosis, for example, a reverse osmosis membrane is typically 0.0005 micron. So this is 0.9 micron, so quite a bit bigger. So why would you need something that's 0.0005 micron? I guess to take anything out that can get through there. So if we talk in, I think some of the smallest bad things that can get into your water are actually viruses, and viruses can go down to like 0.02 micron or something like that, maybe even smaller. So that's going to get anything like that. But we're not going to run every bit of water through reverse osmosis. If we want to drink the water, sure, we've got a reverse osmosis filter that we can set up and run through there for drinking water. But realistically, this water is more for showering and everything. We're going to put it in our RV tank, so we definitely don't want to contaminate the RV tank. So what would happen if some bacteria or virus somehow made it through all these filters and got into the drinking water? Well, if it's an organism, it can multiply, and you definitely don't want organisms, no matter what they are, multiplying inside of your water system. So we've got a solution for that. So after it goes through all that filtration, then it's going to go through this, a UV water sterilizer. And this thing basically has a quartz sleeve and a UV light inside of it that as the water passes through this system, it has to pass that UV light, which basically zaps any organisms that are in there, and it doesn't kill them, but what it does is it sterilizes them. So in other words, they cannot multiply. So they're as good as dead. It basically renders them harmless. So by the time your water goes through this entire system and then through this UV sterilizer, it should be 100% good to drink. And that's really what we're after, even though, like I say, we don't plan on drinking it, and if we did, we would still run it through a reverse osmosis system. Maybe that makes us water snobs, I don't know. But the bottom line is, we want our water to be good, we want it to be safe, and we want to be set up for pretty much any scenario, no matter what's going on in the world or with water, whatever. We just want to be safe. So I do have a tendency to over-engineer stuff, and this is, I'm sure, over-engineered, but by over-engineering it, that gives us the peace of mind to know that, hey, no matter where we get our water from, whether I get it out of one of the springs on the property, or we collect rainwater, which, you know, what could be in rainwater? You could have pesticides in rainwater. You can have organisms that are picked up off of the surfaces that the rainwater hits. I mean, you know, there's no guarantee that just because you got rainwater that it's pure and safe to drink. So we're going to make sure that it is, just because that's kind of the way we do things. So going back to these big blue filter housings, these are pretty nice setup. This is the lid from one of them, and you notice it's got a pressure gauge on it. So I bought these specifically with the pressure gauges, because what these pressure gauges do is kind of give you an idea. This is on the outside, meaning the water outlet. So what this does is this will kind of give me an idea of how that filter is functioning. So if I know what my system pressure is rated at, then this filter will kind of tell me how much filter I'm showing out of the back side of that filter. So as that filter gets clogged up from use, this pressure should drop. And each one of these filters will have one of these pressure gauges that kind of give me an idea of where that filter at. And really where that matters is in your sediment filters. Your other carbon filters, you more care about the carbon wearing out, because that's kind of what's extracting those tastes and odors and things like that. So generally, rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months on those. As far as the size goes, again, this is a whole house type setup, so it's about surface area. So the more surface area that you have on a filter, the greater flow rate you're going to get, because let's be honest, I mean, this is a 5 micron filter, so it doesn't let a lot through. It's pretty tight pores. So that definitely is going to slow down your flow rate. And when you get to that candle ceramic filter at 0.9, definitely that slows down your flow rate. So you do want to know about your pressures all the time to see that you're still flowing, and you also want to maximize your surface area so that you can maximize your flow rate in order to serve the whole house thing. So to put these things together, we basically have just brass nipples that are you know, 1-inch brass close pipe, national pipe thread, and you know, we'll put some Teflon tape on there, screw them in, screw another one on, and put these babies right next to each other in line. Have a really great setup. And when we do eventually drill our well and start using that, we're going to have our water tested, so we'll know what we're dealing with to begin with. And let's say, for example, we need to change this filter unit a little bit. Maybe, for example, we'll have heavy metals or something like that that we need to remove. The good news is all you do is change the cartridge that you're using, and you can totally change the setup of this filtration unit without even having to do any construction or anything. So, you know, in the end, this is basically a 7-stage unit. So I think we got plenty of stages to deal with anything that we face in the future. So we're going to get this put together, and we'll kind of keep filming as we go along. Hey folks, thanks for watching the video. If you like what you've seen so far, join us in part 2 to see how it all comes together. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified when the next video comes out. Thanks again, and have a blessed day.